Just answering questions with waptek. Yes, I'm able to upload on this channel again. Let's do the one question for the day that popped up. By the way, some of you may have noticed a difference in the comment sections on a large portion of my videos on both channels because I no longer care about YouTube's happiness. Let's move on. What if ancient cultures grew crystals to make statues rather than started with a big block and carved them down? I'm sorry, but the quartz skulls meme is no longer allowed on the channel. Growing crystals, specifically what most of you are thinking of, not practical and not long-lasting, and growing crystals aren't as good as the ones that are mined, and there's plenty of crystal to work with. And we're talking quartz crystal, most likely. There are others, but quartz crystal is the most common one that people think of anyway. There are other crystals you can grow that are almost as pretty, including salt, that there is some evidence of people figuring out by accident how to grow. It's called a brine bucket or something, where you grow salt crystals or other materials, or find that they're growing in nature from soluble materials forming crystals. And there is some evidence people might have done that, but it is actually just much easier just to find a big rock or a big crystal and carve them down. Even though that seems a lot more work, the only reason you'd grow a crystal is to grow it in a form. And there's a tiny bit of evidence, but no one wants to break it apart to find out, that people may have found a way to form geode-style outside-in crystals inside of some sort of form using some high-temperature meltable material that, as it cools very slowly, forms nearly gem-grade looking crystals inside out, and then you have to carve off all the crap. But it's an interesting subject, but I can't find any examples of grown crystal like that except salt. And ancient secret, there's only rumors of it was a jewel made of salt, it was perfect, and there's only 4 of them in all of Arabia, or some line like that from some poetry thing. So I don't even know if this was ever done, and I doubt it. Also, people a long time ago figured out salt happens when you precipitate salt water and evaporate it. It forms pretty crystals sometimes, but they're rare. It normally forms white crystals, aka sugar quartz or sugar crystal looking things. Now we're going to do the pound of flesh video for today, when we're accurately pounding someone's flesh. Hi, waptek. We've reached a decision on your appeal. We've reviewed your appeal for the video that was titled Expunged due to YouTube Purge 2022 and had the description redacted. Also, originally it was going to be expunged and redacted due to YouTube Purge 2022 because YouTube flags debunkings of misinformation, or YouTube hates fact checkers. I eventually just used that because I knew that if I put the word misinformation in, they would probably flag it just for that. And me saying a fact checker, that would get me in Dutch, because at the time, and I'm going to say it again, YouTube absolutely is going after people who debunk things. They're very much aware they're flagging people who are contradicting conspiracy theorists. They are aware of this. They're doing this on purpose. After taking another look, we can confirm that your content does not violate our community guidelines. No. After taking another look, we can confirm that your content never violated our community guidelines because it doesn't have anything in the description or title to flag. Our bot must have misinterpreted what you said, because your bot is poorly written and nobody should trust YouTube and Google to have their bot interpret things for advertising. Don't give them money. And also, don't give them your passwords and logins, because they'll hold shit hostage. But they're not going to admit to that. Thanks for your patience while we reviewed this appeal. I doubt that a human being ever saw it, because the way I word it, without actually using the word fuck, none of you humans would have accepted the fact that I told you, you're wrong. Your bot gets this wrong. You flagged a debunking video as promoting what I was debunking. Our goal is to make sure content doesn't violate our community guidelines so that YouTube can be a safe place, not a Facebook, for all people. And sometimes we make mistakes trying to get it right. Sometimes You have a 1% failure rate. That's absolutely atrocious considering the number of millions of videos uploaded every day. And every time you do this, instead of assuming you could get it wrong and not flagging the channel and not punishing us into the ground, pounding us, you decide to punish us and make sure it hurts. The first time this happened to me a long time ago, it was genuinely hurtful because it wasn't worded the way they normally are. It was worded as, you've done something wrong or potentially illegal. That was absolutely the first way they used to do this. Your content may have violated laws or caused harm or threat to people. It was just a boilerplate thing that it wasn't even specific. And this one was misinformation concerning some subject. I'm not allowed to use any of the keywords that they flag. We do not have freedom of speech here. And more importantly, it's a cooling effect, a chilling effect on speech. How does this impact your content? We've reinstated your content. If your appeal was for a warning, you'll be allowed another warning in the future. No, if it was for a warning, it was never valid and we removed it. I don't want to hear about it. Don't mention that you're going to give me another warning in the same statement where you admit you made a mistake giving me this. You can find more information about your warnings and strikes in the YouTube Help Center. The fact that you have a subsection for warnings and strikes as being part and parcel of dealing with YouTube. Again, you shouldn't restrict thousands of videos or punish me for 1 in 1,000 videos that you get wrong. And if you have a pattern of getting this wrong on my channel, you should stop being able to flag the channel by bot, because the bot is wrong. Smack it on the nose. Tell it it's bad. Let it learn. An AI that doesn't learn isn't an artificial intelligence system. It's a weapon. If you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to us here. And then you give a no reply email address and I can't do it. The YouTube team. We're sorry of any frustration this might have caused you. We appreciate you letting us know. YouTube's policy on misinformation. We can't say which one because that will trigger the bot that will ignore what I'm saying and go for whatever it can get away with flagging again. We're not allowed to talk about certain things. Okay, now we're at the 7-minute and 41-second mark, and this is take 2 because the previous one I basically pounded and screamed. YouTube's community guidelines should include a line in it that says, subjects that require expert opinion are not permitted to be discussed and have promoting or discussion videos of any kind on unless you can demonstrate A, you have a clear expertise in the subject, or B, you're stating an opinion and admit verbally and in text in an unalterable way that you're not only not an expert, but that your opinion should be ignored because it doesn't have any merit. Now, why am I saying that? There's a couple of people who were medical doctors that told people to do things that would dead-ass get them killed because they were actually leaders of a cult in a couple of countries. Now, this has nothing to do with today's flaggings. That's just something that did happen. They were medical doctors that were trying to increase the death rate. So they gave medical advice to people in other countries to cause more people to die because they hated the population there. They wanted poor people dead, so they gave them advice that would get them killed. They gave them all sorts of home cures and crap like that for stuff like having cholera and shit. It has nothing to do with anything current, so the subject wasn't flagged. They never made mention of the current subject, the beer situation, as Paul Harrell calls it, because we're not allowed to discuss it because we're not experts. But instead of just saying, if you're not an expert in the subject, you're not allowed to discuss it. But when experts in the subject do discuss it and get it wrong, they're supposed to be flagged off. One of them was, hundreds of them actually, have been kicked off of Twitter and Facebook and YouTube because they are medical experts that in some cases I debunked and got flagged for. One of them was a former member of the CDC that was posting shit that wasn't factual because they were selling something, because they left the medical industry and were working for some company that was selling something as a supplement. They were lying. They got away with it for years. They made a shit ton of money. Oh, well, you give them a fine for $10,000? They made $10 million. They don't give a fuck. They just consider that the fee for doing business. And they get away with it. And it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it has nothing to do with the current beer situation or Aronia virus. It has to do with something very simple. People dying from cancer were given advice that would kill them. People who were dying from anemia or something easily curable. People who want to make money by exploiting their fear of going to a hospital or their disbelief in medical science were being exploited. That's something to flag. That's something to take down. YouTube still hasn't taken any of that shit down. I've been railing against that for years because it took the life of one of my friend's moms. Because she wouldn't listen to the medical advice. When I showed her that it had no medical effect, she said that just means it's safer than the chemotherapy. And she died from an easily cured cancer. And there have been dozens since then. Because chemotherapy is scary. Because cancer is scary. Because getting surgery is scary. These people flock to whatever guru will kill them. As long as you got enough money. And if you're poor, if they can use donations as a way to get money, they'll give you literally holy water. Grifters deserve the hell they've earned. But they don't care because on earth they're happy and there isn't any hell. There isn't any God because they're not being burned alive for their sins in front of you. No, it happens in secret in some universe that you can't visit until you're dead, so you can't find out whether or not you were lied to your entire life about whatever was in whichever book you're reading. Doesn't matter what the religion is, they all have the same thing. Don't punish the bad people. Let God do it. Meaning, they get away with crap because they're the ones who wrote the goddamn books. If you're a follower of religion, you're a slave. If you're a student of religion, you won't be. And this will get flagged for, I guess, religious misinformation or hate speech, right? What's the excuse this week? Me pointing out simply what I've learned in life about how to use a wrench and a hammer. Probably get flagged for misinformation soon. If Google and YouTube want to have a policy that says non-experts are not permitted to give expert advice, period, full stop, then they can just say it. They could say, we've reached a decision on appeal. After reviewing your video called Waptek Gives Advice on How to Change a Spark Plug, we've decided that since you do not have a degree in engineering or any experience that you've been able to prove to us through a resume that you have experience being a mechanic, and since there are literally thousands of mechanics telling people how to do it yourself, and they've been able to prove it to us because they sent us proof of it in a resume, at least, your video is now made private until you can offer an explanation why we should allow it to be visible when there's hundreds and hundreds of videos better than yours. And I could put in, I'm showing people how to install these spark plugs in a brand new type of engine because it's got an odd format. There aren't any other videos. When more videos are up, you can take this down. We'll allow it because we've had an expert in the subject on another competing channel check it, and he says it's good. There could be an experts commission that does this. Community guideline strikes should be reviewed by the community, not by a fucking bot. Not by YouTube employees that in most cases are working for free because they believe, and really they're just true believers who are flagging my channel because they don't like me. Every once in a while, one of them will pop up and say, I'm the one who flagged your channel because I don't like you personally. If they're smart, they don't do that. I have an expertise in computers, electronics. Everything else I discuss is by looking up other experts. I got flagged for pornography because I linked to a page that contained an expert's opinion, but he put it on a page that at one time was a URL that was a redirect for a porn site. So I got flagged for that, and then they realized, okay, we messed up. Crippling my channel because you probably made a mistake. Again, all they have to say is if you're not an expert in the subject, we have the right to remove the video, but don't take the whole channel down. And don't shut us up by ripping our throats out. Anyway, that's it for the day. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And if you have any more information about that crystal growing thing, that'd be great. But I'm going to spend the rest of the day backing up my channel while I can still do it. And maybe all of you should too.